Hello students, again this particular video is the third part towards our ongoing topic, that is Introduction to Accounting or the theory base of accounting. In this particular video we'll be learning certain theoretical aspects of accounting. So first of all, we are going to know what are the various branches of accounting. Now as such there are numerous branches of accounting, but majorly if we study, then there are these three most important branches of accounting. The first one is financial accounting. It is that branch of accounting which records financial transactions and events, summarizes and interprets them, and communicates the results to the users. It ascertains profit earned or loss incurred during an accounting period, which is usually a year, and the financial position on the date when the accounting period ends. The end product of financial accounting period is the profit and loss account for the period ended, which shows whether profit is earned or loss is incurred. And the balance sheet as on the last day of the accounting period shows the financial position. In short, financial accounting is mainly confined to the preparation of financial statements, that is profit and loss account, and balance sheet for the users of accounting information. Now this tells us that financial accounting is basically that branch of accounting which is very much usable if a person would want to know what is the profit or loss at the end of the year. What is the final result of all the financial transactions that have taken place during the year? And that particular year is assumed or is considered to be comprising of 12 months. So this is how we calculate or how we divide the transactions on year-to-year basis, and depending on that particular transactions which are done in a particular year, we come across how these are. We go by the accounting process, and then we can analyze and interpret whether all of them have resulted into profits or losses in a cumulative manner. The next branch is cost accounting. Limitation of financial accounting with respect to information related to the cost of product or service leads to the development of a specialized branch called cost accounting. Whatever product is sold out in the market, it is always sold out on MRP, that is maximum retail price. Definitely, a producer will have to first incur certain cost in order to prepare that product, in order to make that particular service. So when that product or service is made, what is the cost that is incurred by the producer? That is what we study in this particular branch of accounting, because that serves as a very important part as far as the calculation of profit or loss is concerned. Until and unless we don't know what is the cost incurred from our pocket, we cannot ascertain it in a very approximate manner that what is the actual difference in terms of profit or loss. The third branch is management accounting. It is the most recently developed branch of accounting concerned with generating accounting information relating to funds, cost, profit, etc. As it enables the management in decision making, we may say that management accounting the needs of a single user group, that is the management. Now whosoever are the main promoters of the business, the team who's working hard behind the expansion of business, or not expansion, then even implementation of the basic thought process with which the business was started. So in that manner, that particular information which is usable for that core team so as to take up further decisions related to the business is what is management accounting. So these were the three major type of branches which you need to study. Next, we'll come across the functions. Now, whether you study the functions or you may study the objectives or features, more or less the content remains the same. So here you must know that it's just the part of understanding, but if you're asked in any of the examination, like explain any two or any four features of accounting, or if you're asked explain any five objectives of accounting, or you're asked to explain or state uh, two or three functions of accounting, the content more or less remains the same, because every answer that whatever is the accounting process is basically how the accounting is functioning, and objectives are inclined in that particular manner. So the content more or less is the same. The heading might differ from functions to features to advantages and all accordingly. So here when we go through the functions, the first one is keeping systematic record. Now the very first function of accounting is to keep a systematic record of the information. Which information? Financial information. About what? Related to the business. First function of accounting is to keep systematic record of financial transactions, to post them to ledger account and ultimately prepare final statements. Then the next function is protecting property of the business. Here the function of accounting is to protect the property of the business. Unauthorized dissipation of assets of the firm will bring it to the threshold of insolvency. Accountant thus has to design such a system of accounting which will protect its assets from an unjustified and unwarranted use. It protects the properties of business and provide them information. Now, more rather than just the protection, it also means that whatever are the assets which belong to the firm, their recognition, their entry has to be there in those particular documents, which are very much important as far as the accounting information is concerned, because any accounting information which lacks any single point related to the business will always be considered as incomplete, whether that information is very much important or not. The first and the foremost requirement for any accounting to be complete, to be called complete, is that it covers all the information. It covers each and every tiny aspect related to the business which can be measured in monetary terms. Next one is meeting legal requirements. Now, as we know that accounting itself is first of all called the art of recording. That means it keeps a systematic record. For example, the business started on 1st of April. After 6 months, that is by the end of October, the owner had a dispute with one of the suppliers related to a transaction which took place in the month of May. So how would the owner or the supplier resolve that particular dispute? Definitely the owner or the supplier need to have any particular evidence in order to put their point forward. Even if it goes to the court, then how would the parties be able to emphasize on their particular point? So accordingly, accounting, this particular record keeping process, serves as a source of evidence which is very much legally recognized by the court of law as well. So accounting meets all the legal requirements. Why do we say that it is very important for any accountant to prepare all the accounts according to according to a framework which has been given? So the framework is important only because when all the firms will have that particular common framework in which they are going to present their accounting information, it not only becomes easy to compare, but it also becomes very easy to make it as a source of evidence and to present it in an understandable manner in front of any governing body or to the various users of accounting information. So definitely it has a good legal requirement, and it serves the legal requirement in a very meaningful manner. Next one is communicating the results. So why do we prepare the accounting information in a particular framework? Definitely we need to communicate it to the various users of accounting. And who are the users of accounting? These are those agencies or those bodies or those people who are interested in the working of the firm. And why are they interested? Because they are connected to the firm in one or the other manner. They may be people who are supplying products to the raw material to the firm. They may be those people who are purchasing the finished goods from the firm. They may be those parties who are providing funds, maybe providing loans, for example, financial institutions and banks to the firm. These may be, it even may include the government, who is very much interested in levying the tax policies on the firm depending on the yearly income of the firm. So accordingly, there are a number of parties who are actually called the users of accounting information. So for their particular knowledge, it is required that the entire analyzed and interpreted result has to be communicated to them. Then it keeps a record of all the incomes and expenses in such a manner that the net result of the business can be quickly known for any period. Keeping apart those parties which are involved in the core team of the business, who are called the internal users of accounting, if we keep them aside, the rest of the parties are external parties. So those external parties are concerned with very precise information. They are not very much interested into how the firm is earning so much of profit, what all better measures they are undertaking, or why the firm has run into so much losses, what are the problems that they are facing. They are only interested in the precise pinpoint information, that what is the end result, whether it is a profit or a loss. For example, an investor would take up the decision of investing into any firm depending on whether the firm is running into profits or losses, irrespective of how is it working, what are the various transactions undertaken in every single day. That is a different part. First of all, his particular decision of depending would depend on what is the financial position of the firm as on the day of year end. So that particular position statement or the financial statement gives a very precise information related to this, which is very much helpful. Then it keeps a record of all the assets and liabilities, which definitely is very, very important. A firm needs to disclose what all belongings, what all possessions it has, what all assets are belonging to the firm, and what are the various obligations that it carries, even to the internal user or to the external user. Then it keeps a track of all the changes in the value of assets and liabilities, which is again a very important aspect, because it helps in disclosing the changes in valuation. Then it keeps a control on expenses in creditors to minimize the same. Next we come on to the advantages. It is very helpful in the management of business. As we already know, the more systematic records are kept, it is very much useful, it is very much helpful for the person, because the owner or the whosoever is the accountant does not have to remember all the things. Once it is recorded, kept in a proper systematic manner, it makes things very easy. Then it is helpful in the payment of income tax and sales tax, because tax is something that is paid on income, whatever is earned. So how do you come to know what is earned, what is the actual profit? And this profit we are talking about is the net profit, that is all the various expenses, whether direct or indirect in nature, are reduced from the various sources of income belonging to that particular year related to the firm. And then the net result, if your income is more than the expenses, the difference amount is what is net profit. So accordingly, that particular net profit is to be arrived at first, and on that, depending on the rules and regulations of the firm, it will be decided what type of income tax or sales tax is to be levied, what percentage and what will be the final amount. So that is very much important. Then it helps in sale of business. As we know that whenever a particular person takes up the initiative of doing any business, it is always said that the intention is not to close it down in the nearby, whatever is the foreseeable future. The owner would not wish to or would not intend to close its business. But in certain cases, when there is insolvency due to any uncertain things or unpleasant things, situations, if it the a particular situation would result into sale of business, so how would you sell out a business? You need to know firstly you need to know what is the valuation of the firm. So how would you come to know about it? You would be able to come to know about it if you have the previous records, if you have the previous valuations. So accordingly, then it is an aid to memory. After that, it serves as a proof in the court of law, which we've already discussed, that how it serves as a legal, it serves to the various legal requirements, and how is it a source of evidence. Next is helpful in the realization of debts, which means it is useful in realizing of debts from the other persons. As a proof of debt, account books can be produced in the court of law. If the owner has given certain funds to some other party, and if the other party refuses to give it back, so how would you challenge that person to pay? Definitely you need to have your accounting information as a source of evidence. That then only it will be possible. Helpful in making the comparative studies to know whether the firm has done better from year to year, or it has done better in competition with the other firms in the same industry. So there also it serves as a very helpful component. Then it helps in planning. Based on the accounting information, the core team or the managerial team can take up this particular advantage of planning the various steps that it needs to take for the betterment of the business. Then it makes decision making very easy, because once you have all the things, practical things written somewhere, and you have the analyzed and interpreted result, then I think 60-65% of the work in planning, related to planning or related to making further decision, is very much clear, because that serves as a very important information. If the firm has already been doing good, then it would be very easy, or the confidence of the main promoter of the business would be more in thinking about the expansion, or in thinking about entering the business into a new line, in a new venture. So accordingly, number of decisions would depend on it, and the more the information is precise, it becomes very easy. After that, helpful in controlling the business, which means the various problems that the firm might face. There are a number of loopholes in every step that is undertaken. So how those loopholes can be eradicated, how the difference between what was planned and what is being achieved, the deviations can be sorted out, and the more profits would be earned. Loss, if there are losses, then they can need to be reduced. So all those things can be taken care of in a very precise manner if we have the systematic accounting record. Next topic for today's video, that is limitations of accounting. The first point is incomplete information. You can very well read this data along with the video on your own, but let me just give you the main meaning of this. Incomplete information means recording of only that information which can be expressed in financial terms. If there is any information which cannot be valued in monetary terms, it cannot be recorded, as we had already discussed about it during the initial sessions when we were talking about the meaning of accounting information. For example, in a manufacturing business, if there is a dispute between the production manager and the sales manager, definitely that particular dispute or the personal differences they cannot be measured in monetary terms. We cannot say that the dispute or the quarrel between the two was worth rupees 1 lakh or so. It cannot be measured. But no doubt, this particular personal differences or the dispute will have direct or indirect effect over the working, resulting into an indirect effect over the profits or losses. So how do you measure that? And if you are not measuring that, basically you are skipping very important part which needs to be included when we talk about the financial position of the firm. But since because of the limitation of accounting that it does not record anything that is not expressible in monetary terms, such things cannot be recorded. So this is the very first limitation. Second, inexactness. Why inexactness? Because there are a number of accounting policies which do not consider the present money valuations. For example, assets, maybe any machinery that has been purchased 5 years back. Now, according to the accounting policy of depreciation, the asset that has already been purchased needs to be reduced. It needs to be the valuation of it needs to be depleted, because every year when it is being utilized for the entire year, it is a very normal phenomena that there will be a reduction in its valuation, in its productive efficiency. But does it match with its ongoing market valuation? So that kind of comparison is not very much included in year to year accounting procedure. So that is the next one. Next is showing valueless assets. Certain assets which do not have real value but they are shown in the balance sheet. Assets like goodwill, patents, preliminary expenses, discount on issue of shares, etc. Now, when you go through the content, there will be definitely certain things about which it is not that easy to understand them right in the beginning of the sessions, because class 11th accountancy, you're coming across the subject for the first time, and we cannot discuss each and everything related to all the various aspects right at the beginning. So you need to go step by step. This particular point tells us that whatever assets are intangible in nature. Intangible means which cannot be seen, felt or touched. So the various assets which are intangible in nature are shown in the books of accounts. For example, if I say that a firm requires funds and its accounting information that is available does not show its working or its performance, which whatever it shows is not sufficient enough to raise the required amount of funds from any bank or financial institution. So definitely the firm would try to raise funds from the market, and if it gets that from the market, then what would be the reason behind it? How is it done? So that is possible only on the basis of the goodwill that the firm has earned over its working life in the society. So by faith or by your own trust, if any third party is ready to give funds to the firm, irrespective of whether the financial position justifies the same quantity that could be given or not, so that particular reason behind it is known as goodwill. Now, how do you value that goodwill? Definitely it is an asset. Why so? Because in the absence of this particular goodwill, the other third parties from the market would not lend that kind of funds, but they have lent it, so definitely there is something. Now, how do you value that and how do you record that? Because it is very much not only related to the business, but it is also serving a financial benefit, so hence it can be expressed in monetary terms. So such assets, these are not basically valueless, but yes, these are intangible because you cannot see goodwill, you cannot feel it, it's not a thing. This is something which is invisible, but it does exist when we talk about the working of the firm. Then it is always prone to manipulation, because it is done by a human being, and hence it is always prone to manipulation. Then ignorance about the present value of business, which is basically the same thing that we have already discussed. Now, this is the end of the video in which we have discussed the features, advantages, the limitations, functions, and the branches of accounting. Next, we'll be coming up with what is bookkeeping and the differences between bookkeeping and accounting. Thank you.